I coordinate the work of HARIF, and it sits in an organisation called Connected Voice. HARIF is part of that larger organisation. HARIF, though, is the Health Equity for Ethnically Minoritised Communities in Newcastle and Gateshead project, and we've been going for 20 years. Our work focuses on improving access to health services for those communities, providing health information in a relevant format and context for diverse communities. We're using the terminology ethnically minorised people and communities, which you may not be familiar with. A year ago, we consulted our HARIF network, and at that time, they felt that ethnically minorised recognised that individuals and communities have been minoritised through the process of power and marginalisation, rather than just an existing in distinct statistical minorities. It better reflects the fact that some ethnic groups that are minorities in the UK are actually majorities in the global population. However, we are reviewing it again because, as we know, language is fluid and putting people in groups is really problematic, so we are continuing to consult on this process. There's lots of practitioners here, as well as people with lived experience, and I'm just going to try and set the scene of why we do work of HARIF and why for some people it's harder to have a good health outcome and they need extra support and support to actually get that health outcome. So we're going to be looking at the work of HARIF, what are health inequalities, what are the factors that affect our health, intersectionality, and then about how you can get involved with HARIF. And one interesting point is that I'm aware we don't get asked a lot around autism, around learning disabilities with the groups that we work with. It's probably not surprising that we don't get asked about this, but we did get approached by a South Asian parent who said, the services that I've been referred to aren't fit for my needs. I need to set up my own support group, and I don't know how to do that. And I think that's very reflective of where we're at with the issue around ethnically minorised health and learning disabilities and autism. What we do in HARIF. So we work with ethnically minorised community groups and health services to get them a better health outcome. And we do this in the following ways. We have our HARIF network, and this is at the heart of what we do. To be in the network, you need to be an organisation led by people from ethnically minorised communities or delivering a service specifically for those groups. And we've got about 70 organisations in this. We meet them regularly, we look at what key health issues there are for people in these communities and what are they experiencing when they access health services. We make sure we give the network a platform to speak to health services, and there are HARIF allies. So the aim of HARIF allies is to improve how health and wellbeing services are provided for ethnically minorised communities. This is now a paid-for membership, very low cost, because we wanted people to show commitment that they wanted to make change and they would commit to making change. And we support our allies by training, events and information sharing to help raise awareness of the health needs of marginalised communities. All of our allies attend our cultural competency training, and this is aimed at improving practitioners' confidence in working with diverse and different communities. We use feedback from the network to shape it, we use videos from the network members about their experiences in health and using services, and we highlight what went wrong and what went right. We share good practice and information through our HARIF bulletin, that's monthly e-bulletin. We also design, deliver and input into health research that we hope will shape how health services are delivered. So we've recently delivered a mental health peer research project and also a project on what makes effective health messaging. And the findings of these are being published, and then we go and lobby and campaign with health services and say, you need to do things differently. This is what people are saying. Why do we need to do this work? We do this because health inequalities exist. Health inequalities do not have to happen, they should not happen, but they exist due to unfair systems, policies and beliefs. Health inequalities affect the differences in health between groups, where for some groups health is much worse than others. It affects how likely it is someone is to get sick, how sick they get, and how long they live. It can impact life expectancy and the likelihood to get a disease. It affects the kind of care you receive, where you receive it, and how you feel about it. It will affect a person's opportunity to live a healthy and full life and can affect employment, education, access to healthy food and housing. But there are lots of different things that can affect health inequalities. A key point though is not membership of these groups that causes issues, but it's things like how easy is it to access a service, what discriminations people face in society or in the services when they're trying to access them, about lack of opportunities in society just to have a healthy life. Next, we're looking at intersectionality. So you can't look at health inequalities without considering intersectionality. This means that everyone has lots of different things that make them who they are, and this will affect how the world treats them. For example, if two people have a disability, their access to health services will be impacted by the disability, but also by their race, their gender, their age, and other characteristics. Services need to look at all of the person's characteristics at once to help them properly. We heard at the beginning, in the UK, the average age of death for people is 81 years old. If you have a learning disability, it's 61 years old. If you're a man with profound and multiple learning disabilities from an ethnic minority background, this is 33-year-old. This is what intersectionality means. So here's some of the factors to think about. People may be new to the country or area. They may not have used the NHS before. And it can sometimes feel to ethnically minoritised people they're being discriminated against because they're not familiar with how they access healthcare. The health service complex, I don't need to tell you all of that. Language barriers and lack of interpreters is a huge issue for people who need language support. There's often a stigma about disability, similar to that about mental health in ethnically minoritised communities in some of them. So that means disabled people are literally invisible, they're hidden away. And people look after them at home and they don't try and engage with services. It's the same for mental health. There's no words for poor mental health in certain cultures. For services, we know there's barriers. We know that you're under pressure, you need resources for interpreters, and you need to have time to develop links with communities. Staff often have a lack of opportunities to meet or work alongside ethnically minoritised communities, and actually building up that trust is key, and it takes time to build up that trust. So we need to think about how do we make that happen. So it's important to consider those barriers and to think about what we can do differently to help people. I'm just going to put a few more statistics out for you to think about. So black women in the UK are 4 times more likely to die in pregnancy and childbirth than white women. Black people are more likely to be hospitalised for their mental health against their wishes than white people. South Asian people are more likely to develop a physical disability throughout their adulthood compared with white British counterparts. In the North East, ethnic minority children are more likely to live in a deprived area than children in the rest of England. So what have we been doing in Harif? What can we do to make a difference? So it's depressing reading, I know, but we can do things to make changes. So in Harif, some of the examples of what we do is we facilitate health information sessions. These sessions are a great way to not only provide important health information out to groups, but also to get feedback on what's working and what doesn't work in services. And we take the services out to groups and ask them to deliver in a setting that fits and it feels comfortable for people, rather than bringing them into one big hall. We've also developed good practice guidelines, so delivering health information sessions with diverse community groups with the Harif Allies. And that's on our website if people want to use it, and that's to help people think about, if I go out to a community group, what should I be thinking about, and how do I design a session that works for them and is not just me telling them what they need to do, because that never actually is a good way to deliver information. It's going to be a discussion point, but I'm not going to put the next slide up because I think someone's coming up to help introduce that.
Our challenge to you is, what could you do in your role to help address some of these barriers?
The big thing for me and patients about identification rather than diagnosis.
Involve experts with lived experience from black, ethnic and minority backgrounds.
Build trust and engage with community leaders and CVS organisations from black, ethnic and minority backgrounds so communities have a safe space. We must reach out to these communities.
We need easy read information available in different languages and must ensure GP learning disability registers accurately record ethnicity.
We need to understand the demographics of our region, work with our BAME communities to help us find the solution to support them better.
Personalised care is central. One size doesn't fit everyone. Learning and sharing from areas and organisations which are supporting people well.